Okay, back to work. Returning as the senior political scientist at the RAND Corporation, Rick Brennan joins us, and right here in the studio, welcome back Professor of Middle Eastern Studies at Florida Atlantic University in Boca Raton, and the author of Salafism in Lebanon, Dr. Robert Rabil.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here. It's my pleasure.
Now, we've just spent a lot of time here talking about Saudi Arabia.
Yes.
Is there any reason for America to trust Saudi Arabia that they will do the right thing in the Middle East?
Well, our relationship with Saudi Arabia is extremely complex. To trust them fully, I don't know about that, and I believe we know that. But our relationship with them is extremely deep, and I think they will do certain things that behooves their own interest.
But what about our interests?
Our interest, as a matter of fact, we have limits as to what we can exercise on them. Given that complex relationship, it puts limits on what we can tell them to do. So, for example, if we tell them tomorrow, you know something, let's go and have troops on the ground in Syria, they will go wobbling on us. And this is what I would like to see in Syria.
Why?
If, for example, I'll give you another example. If you say, listen, your own Salafi Wahhabi school of Islam, you have to curb its ideology. You have to curb the power of that religious ideology. In Saudi Arabia, they will tell, oh, listen, we have to speak about it. This is where I am wary of the Saudi. But if I want to tell them, for example, let's reduce the oil so we can hurt Iran and we can hurt Russia, they will do that. Let's work together on a project, you know, they will do that. So this is what I mean by complex. On certain issue, they are behind us 100%. And on a certain issue, I don't say they are behind us fully.
Okay, now that's not 100% in all areas. Rick, I'm going to throw it to you now because again, what the doctor said is true. What we've heard many people say, that we can trust the Saudis only to a point. What is that point? How far can we push that point? Because isn't it fair to say that we need the Saudis behind us, and we have to have that support to defeat Iran, ISIS, whatever else you want to talk about in that region?
We need the Saudis behind us. We need the Qataris behind us. We need the governments on the entire region behind us. And the professor is absolutely right. There are certain things that we will get them, that they will do for us, certain things above the table. And a lot of times they'll do things for us that nobody can see. For example, in the lead up to the Iraq War in 2003, forces were based out of Saudi Arabia. Forces came from Jordan, but none of that was made public. So we have some very long-standing relationships with them. We have to find those areas where they can cooperate. They're not going to be putting forces to fight ISIS in Syria. We need to understand that. They do have their own internal problem. You know, the Saudi leadership has made a deal with their own Wahhabi Salafist movement that they stay in power for this, and in return, the Salafists don't go target them. So there's these very complex internal and external dynamics that are taking place that I think need to be managed. But they have been very long friends. It's very complex, but it's very well grounded.
Let me turn back a little bit here to Dr. Yu and Iran right now, because there is a feeling that the American strategy in Iraq relies on Iran in that parallel fight that they're taking on right now. True?
Okay. Well, I won't put it this way. I would say that
you don't agree?
No, listen, there is no such thing as a full agreement, especially in a complex war like that, where you have many actors and different actors have different national interests. This is what I would say. United States strategy in Iraq relies on the Iraqi government, where the Iraqi government has good relationship with Iran and relies on Iran. So if you want to say United States indirectly rely on Iran, this is where I agree with you.
You have just talked about, I mean, what you're putting together, Rick, you got to agree with us on this. What the doctor just put together here is just incredible, because we're talking about all these linchpins that still have to move, and we don't know if any of them will ever move for us to have any kind of options in the Middle East.
You're exactly right, and the professor is perfectly correct. Iran has a long-standing relationship with many of the people in the Shia-led government in Iraq. Some of those people go back to when they were exiles in Iran. Exactly. That's not going to change. The issue that we're going to have to face as a country is how do we deal with that region where there are so many different and complex problems. ISIS today is a wolf at the sled. But Prime Minister Netanyahu was correct in pointing to Iran, and Iran is even a larger wolf that is out there that we need to be looking at. And I think successive administrations have been so afraid of what Iran might do if we challenge them that they've been reluctant to let them do anything, and that has let them largely go unrestrained.
All right, 30 seconds I have left here, Doctor.
Yes.
I love calling you Doctor, Professor. It's weird.
It's okay with
I
me.
like both. I'll just call you Robert.
Robert is fine,
with
yes.
regard to what Benjamin Netanyahu said the
Yes.
other day, 30
Yes.
seconds. Did you agree with everything that came out of his mouth?
As a matter of fact, I would like to them at both. I wouldn't say Iran is more of a priority than ISIS. I look at the same level of threat that they pose to United States national interest. ISIS and Iran. I wouldn't say ISIS more than Iran, and I wouldn't say Iran more than ISIS.
All right, okay. We have to take care of one side here. Rick Brennan from the Rand Corporation, want to thank you so much for being with us, Rick. We'll talk to you again very soon.
Thanks, Ed.
All right, and Dr. Robert Rabil will remain with us right after the break. And we need to focus on one facet here that we haven't touched on yet, the destruction of millions of years' worth of history and the destruction of American youth in recruitment to ISIS. This and much more when we come back right here on MidPoint.